We are setting out on a journey across three cities: Windsor, LaSalle, and Amherstburg, linked not just by highways and riverbanks, but by centuries of stories that shaped Canada's past and present. From French settlers to fur traders, enslaved people fleeing to freedom, and immigrant families chasing new beginnings, this drive is a living timeline. Our journey begins in Windsor, Canada's southernmost city and one of its most historically complex. Known today for its auto industry and cultural diversity, Windsor was once a battleground for liberation, a sanctuary for the oppressed, and a melting pot of identities. Sandwich Town, now a quiet historic district, was once the center of this hope. The Sandwich First Baptist Church still stands, a brick building raised by formerly enslaved people. There, lanterns once burned as coded messages. If the light was on, it meant safety, shelter, and a place to rest. One story tells of a young boy, just 12, who crossed the river with his mother in a leaky skiff. They were taken in by a black family living near the church. The boy grew up to become a school teacher, helping to educate the children of other freedom fight seekers. His descendants still live in Windsor today. But Windsor's story isn't only about the Underground Railroad. It's also about French colonists who settled here in the 1700s, long before Canada was a country. It's about Métis families, Indigenous stewardship, and British garrisons. Every street here overlays centuries, and today Windsor is among Canada's most diverse cities. Over 100 languages are spoken here. Neighborhoods like Little Italy, South Windsor, and downtown host vibrant communities, each adding flavor to the city's rhythm. Walk through Windsor and you will smell Lebanese garlic chicken grilling on Roulette Avenue. Hear Afrobeat music from a community picnic. See Tami temples and Italian espresso bars side by side. Windsor, it's a city that remembers, a city that welcomes, a city that stands as a living bridge, not just between countries, but between cultures, faiths, and generations. Just a short drive west is LaSalle, quieter, greener, more suburban. But don't let its calm fool you. Beneath the parks and schools and bike trails lies the footprints of centuries. LaSalle is named after Reine-Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la LaSalle. The French explorer who canoed these waters in the 1600s, charting territory from the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River. But long before him, this land was home to the Anishinaabe peoples, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi, who lived, hunted, and traded among these banks. Here, the Detroit River widens, curving gently past marshlands and hardwood forests. It was once a watery highway for fur traders. Bark canoes loaded with pets would pass each other silently, navigating reeds and currents. Fish were plentiful. Birds overheads marked the season. The fur trade shaped this region's early economy. French settlers, Métis families, and indigenous partners worked together in delicate alliances. There is a story that an Odawa elder once carved a symbolic canoe and buried it by the riverbank, a peace offering to future generations. Though lost to time, the tale remains a metaphor for what LaSalle has become, a town of quiet strength and continuity. Fast forward to today, and LaSalle is a community rooted in the past, but looking forward. Its trails and river walks followed old indigenous paths. Its waterfront parks sit where voyagers once set up camps. And every summer, the Strawberry Festival fills the air with laughter, music, and tradition. What started as a local harvest celebration decades ago is now a beloved multi-day event. Families come for the food, yes, the fresh strawberries, but also elephant ears, corn dogs, and Caribbean jerk chicken, served by immigrant vendors who now call LaSalle home. LaSalle is where nature and memory meet. It doesn't shout its history, it hums it. It hums it. You feel it in the breeze through the trees, the stillness of the water, and the way people wave to strangers on the train. It's not a city of monuments, it's a city of roots. Finally, we arrived in Amherstburg, a town of stone walls, red bricks, and old souls. Founded in 1796, Amherstburg was once a British military outpost established after the Americans took Detroit. Its fort, Fort Malden, was the crown jewel of British defense in southwestern Ontario. During the War of 1812, British, Canadian, and Indigenous forces stood their ground here against American invasion. They fought not just to protect territory, but they preserved alliances with the First Nation and to resist colonial pressure from the South. But Amherstburg's greatest legacy came later. After the war, as slavery persisted across the border, Amherstburg became a beacon of light. Freedom seekers who made it across the river often settled here. They built homes, churches, and entire communities. By the 1850s, Amherstburg had one of the most active black settlements in Canada. The Amherstburg Freedom Museum tells the story through clothing, documents, and oral histories. There's one Bible once owned by a woman who taught newly arrived children how to read. There are shackles too, rusted and horrifying, next to quits stitched with secret messages and escape routes. The Nazarene AME Church, a stone chapel built by hand in 1848, still stands. Its bell once rang every time a new freedom seeker arrived, welcome not as a stranger, but as family. There's a legend of a man named Josiah who escaped from Kentucky disguised as a farmer. He made it to Amherstburg, where he opened a blacksmith shop. His tools are still on display today, and locals say you can still hear the echo of his hammer in the museum's walls. But Amherstburg is not stuck in the past. It is alive with jazz festival, riverside patios, and art galleries housed in 19th century buildings. It's a town where kids eat ice cream outside the same post office their ancestors once made letters to freedom. And at sunset, when the sky turns gold over the river, you can almost see the silhouettes of canoes and freedom seekers crossing. You can feel what this place meant to them and what it still means to us.